everyone, as I'm sure you can tell by the title of this video, today is going to be a Q&A video. I haven't actually done one of these in quite a while, so I thought it was time that we actually did do one. I like doing these because it gives me an opportunity to obviously answer some of your questions so you guys can get involved, but it also gives me the opportunity to talk about things that I wouldn't necessarily think of or have a chance to. So, without further ado, let's get straight into the questions. I'm not going to really do these in any particular order, but there is one that I want to go to first, and that is, what do you plan for your channel in the future? Types of video content, etc. So, as I'm sure you can tell, the video upload for the summer has been a little different than normal. Lately, I have been doing kind of like a main art video, a very topical art video, I guess you could say, that I normally put up Fridays, and then Mondays I've been doing the behind the studio videos, which both of those I really want to continue doing. I am really happy with the behind the studio videos, actually. I really just see them not necessarily, like, they are more in a vlog type style, but they're kind of just art videos with less structure. So obviously, like, a tutorial has a very specific structure kind of in mind, but the behind the studio videos, I can be working on like 5 different projects within the week, and they go into one video. So I'm really happy that the majority of you all are enjoying those. It gives me the chance to talk about more tips and just kind of, it gives me the chance to talk about a lot more things than like a traditional kind of art video would. So yes, for the future, I'm definitely planning on continuing those. I have like a whole list of a bunch of really awesome art video ideas, but I'm always interested in knowing what you guys like to see from me, whether that's more tutorials, more time-lapse videos, trying out different types of art supplies, that kind of thing. The main reason I wanted to get to this question, as I've gone on a tangent for 500 years, is that the video schedule is a little more sporadic for the summer because Project Emphas is my main kind of focus, but I do have various videos pre-filmed for the rest of the summer. But I just figured, you know, the summer, why not change it up a bit? I'm sure lots of you probably don't watch as many videos in the summer because you're busy outside doing fun stuff, out of school, all of that kind of stuff. So that is why they're a little more sporadic. I hope you are enjoying the Project Emphas videos. By the time this Q&A goes up, there should be a few out by now. But yes, that's why I wanted to get to that question first, just to kind of update you with what is going on. I ultimately still plan on hopefully doing 2 videos a week for forever, who knows how long. But yes, I am still continuing definitely on the more traditional art videos as well as the behind the studio videos. What are your hobbies besides art? Well, the thing about having art as kind of your main job is you generally don't have that much time for other hobbies. I guess video games, I know that's boring, but really if I have the chance to not be working on something, which is very rare, like, I obviously love what I do, so I don't necessarily see it as work. It's kind of just more like, take a break from doing this thing and kind of focus on something else. I kind of always need something to do, so normally I just gravitate towards doing something more art related. But yeah, if I have the chance to like chill out for a bit, I really like playing video games, Nintendo games, obviously, Legend of Zelda, Mario games, obviously because I'm into Star Wars. Battlefront has been a big one too. Really like racing games. Also, I guess if you could consider watching movies a hobby, I do enjoy watching movies. This is so boring, but yeah. Building armor is, I guess, a hobby that isn't more traditional art related. But yeah, most of my hobbies have something to do with artwork, like prop making, armor building, costuming, always kind of go back to the art thing. So hobby front is kind of boring. Haven't done sports for a long time, but yeah, that hopefully answers that question. Tips for people aspiring to make art their main source of income. Tips for starting a successful YouTube channel. Thanks. Well, kind of both of these would be don't put all your eggs in one basket, which I feel like lots of people say, but for artists it kind of ends up being easier because obviously if you are an artist doing a YouTube channel, you already have another kind of product as the outcome. Like if you're doing a speed paint video, for instance, you obviously could have a time-lapse video of that painting, but then also you have that painting, which you could put on Redbubble or make prints of or sell the original. So for artists, I think it ends up being easier because you already have the skill set to do something else, I guess. Like if you, not that you can't I know there's lots of people that make videos because they really enjoy making videos, but at least for an artist, if your main thing is making videos, then that is what you do. It's really hard to market that to something else, I guess. But for artists, your main kind of thing is more to the artwork and you also happen to enjoy making videos. So that is another revenue source. So yeah, the broad thing, I could do a whole video about this, which if you are interested in that, definitely let me know because it is a very broad topic that really should probably have its own video for me to get more in depth with all of the various things. But yeah, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Even for me, my main, my revenue source is not just from YouTube. I obviously sell originals, do Redbubble stuff, run my own store as well as Redbubble, do commission stuff, freelance work. There's even for me, it is 500 things combined. So yeah, main tip, don't put all your eggs in one basket. How to run a successful YouTube, was that, this is going well. Oh, and tips for starting a successful YouTube channel. Well, first, do something that you, make a channel about something that you like, not something that you're going to feel is popular, because as soon as you, at some point, even if you succeed immensely with your channel, if it is not something you're truly enjoying, at some point it's just, you're going to get fed up with it. So that's kind of a broad advice. But for artwork, more, obviously I'm used to running an art channel, so that's kind of what I'm speaking from. But for art-wise, a good way to bring people to your channel and kind of introduce them is creating searchable content. So that might be a tutorial or a video about a popular subject kind of thing. But tutorials are a great way because no matter what kind of trends are happening in the world of YouTube and internet-wise, someone always is going to look up how to do something. So that could obviously go to a bunch of different things. It's not necessarily a drawing tutorial or an artwork tutorial. But yes, no matter what happens, someone is always going to search how to build something, how to do something. So if that kind of applies to what you're hoping to start your YouTube channel on, that could be a good video to look at doing. Obviously, make sure you kind of know what you're talking about, and, explain it well, all of that kind of stuff. Focus on making a good video, but also look at making a video helping someone else, because I know lots of you have probably come to my channel because of my Galaxy tutorials. There's been a few over time. So yes, as you can see, it works. Yes, searchable content definitely helps introduce people to your channel. Even if that is not necessarily your main thing, obviously you could do 1 or 2 tutorials over 6 months or whatever and have the rest of your stuff be something else that you might enjoy making more. But that searchable content will definitely help people be introduced or find out about your channel. Do you have any favorite books that you like to read? this kind of goes back to the hobby thing. I probably should have included reading in the hobby thing, because when I do have a chance to read, I do really like reading, but lately my time has been non-existent. But favorite books that this is going very well. I'm completely forgetting what the questions are. Have any favorite books that you like to read? Well, I'd like to read any type of book if I had the time for it. My all-time favorite book and book series is the Millennium Trilogy, which isn't technically a trilogy anymore, but that's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Girl Who Played with Fire, those books. All-time favorite. I really like manga books. I like them for the artwork as well as the story. Black Butler is a big one that is still ongoing. Bleach technically is ending soon, I think, but that's been a big one as well. So it's kind of good both ways because it gets me like away from staring at a computer and away from working on artwork to enjoy reading something, but it also gives me inspiration because obviously manga is a very visual medium, I guess. Very visual, like graphic novel wise and stuff as well. I kind of will read anything if it interests me or sounds interesting. Lately I've been, while working, listening to various Star Wars audiobooks. Not that I have anything against other audiobooks, it's just it mainly started because I wanted to listen to the Ahsoka book, and then it just kind of went from there. The Star Wars ones are really interesting because they have the sound effects and the music and stuff. So they're cool. So I've been listening to books more than reading them lately, but yeah, I will kind of read anything if the plot point is interesting. What do you use to film? Your videos are amazing. Thank you. The camera that I use is a Sony what is it? I always forget. I think it's an A5100. I don't think it's an A51000. I'm pretty sure it's an A5100, which is a compact DSLR. So it is one of the ones, this one is like the new version of my old version. So the one that I'm filming on now is kind of the updated version of what I always used to use, which is an NEX5N. But yeah, it is a compact DSLR, so it means it kind of has the body of a digital camera, but the lens can be interchanging. So right now I'm using the kind of more standard lens. I don't know if it's not technically wide angle, but it has a fairly large field of vision. That is what I will generally film with, though for taking pictures and the occasional close-up shot, depending on what I'm filming, I will use my macro lens. So that's really what I like these cameras. They are light, they are not the cheapest, but also not the most expensive. They are really easy to suspend. If you've seen my studio setup, I'm sure you've seen these. Like, I have a tripod that has one of the cross beams. I'm not sure if they're called something. Basically, you know, tripods have like the piece that goes up. You have like the 3 legs and then you have the piece. This is ridiculous. I should probably know the various tripod names by now. But normally you have the tripod that just goes straight. This one's arm goes horizontally. So it means I can shoot over paintings, drawings, take pictures. So they are great. I also use the Gorilla Pods a lot. That's what my camera is on now. I have a couple of those because that is what I generally have on my old camera, which is what I use for vlogging now, just so I don't have to disrupt this one if I'm partially in between filming a art video. Like if it's already set up for filming on a painting, I don't want to touch it, so that's why I still use my older camera, which is still good too. This one just has more megapixels and it also has a flip-up screen. So that's kind of what I used. If you want a video like further detailing this, let me know. So that's my camera. I have a bunch of studio lights. If you've seen my studio vlogs or just my studio tour, I kind of have 2 filming setups that I can flip-flop between. I also just generally use the studio lights as lighting because they're fantastic. And if you're wondering, I have an iMac and I use Final Cut Pro to edit the videos as well. So hopefully that answers that question. How do you identify? What are your preferred pronouns? I'm fine with being a girl. So she, her, it's funny because before it was kind of universal knowledge, which I'm still not sure how universal knowledge-y it is that I am a girl. But definitely when I was younger, and it was harder, well, for when I was younger, and it was mainly, I wasn't like putting myself crazy out there because I was 14. It was definitely not as universal knowledge that I was a girl, and there was a lot of press around different paper crafts that I have done that everyone just assumed I was a guy, and like a 30-year-old guy. So I've kind of been called everything under the sun at this point. So if you call me a he, sure, why not? But she, her, good for me. What are your favorite medium combos in an art piece? Combinations, I obviously am mainly a watercolor artist, so one of my favorite things to do is watercolor and colored pencil. Separately, they are kind of the main ones that I go towards, so it just kind of made sense that together they would be my favorite. One that is kind of more like a traditional one would be like ink and watercolor. Sometimes it's nice to have more of a defined line art that also involves watercolor painting. But yeah, definitely watercolor and colored pencil for me is kind of the best of both worlds, because you get to have the painterly look of the watercolor if you want, and also make that splashy, or just let the watercolor do what the watercolor is going to do. But then you can use the colored pencil to kind of bring back in the detail, and my colored pencils at least are fairly pigmented, so if I ever needed to adjust any of the colors or whatever, definitely the colored pencils would help fix that. It's funny because the first painting that I did with watercolor and colored pencil, I planned on having it only be watercolor, but I messed it up. Like, it was not going well, and so I used the colored pencil to fix it. And so it's a great tool to fix your paintings that aren't going well, but it also really looks really cool. Any plans for digital iPad type tutorials? Love the channel. Thank you. It's funny because I actually hadn't even really considered it until a couple of weeks ago. And I think it was because I was thinking about, like, I've been knocking off pretty much every medium of how to do galaxies, and I think it just occurred to me that I hadn't done a digital tutorial, and so it's definitely like not out of the question. Like I said, it just didn't really ever, I never really considered it. I'm just so used to doing traditional artwork that digital just didn't really register as a possibility, I guess. Digital artwork for me just doesn't really happen very often. I just prefer, I guess, the hands-on or messiness of using traditional artwork. But yeah, I do enjoy doing digital artwork and enjoy how it turns out. So you definitely might see some digital drawing or other types of artwork videos and tutorials in the future. What is your favorite color? That. So basically, I guess you could say like royal blue, but the color of my studio wall is definitely my favorite color. Can you give some tips regarding drawing accurate proportions of the sketches before painting, and also tell about techniques of layering watercolors? Thanks. I actually have a video, it kind of relates to this, about it goes into proportions. It's my portrait tutorial, and that kind of goes into facial proportions at least. But I guess the main thing would be use reference and just observe. But reference will definitely help you get those proportions accurate. Reference, for reference, you do not need to draw exactly what you see. The way I use reference, at least, is just for reference, for like an idea, or to just pull things back into the correct proportion. I use reference like all the time, but the references that I use and the finished artwork look nothing alike most times. So for reference, definitely like different poses, or like you can change stuff up. It's just the reference is like your bare bone structure of how to do things. Even if you change the pose up between your reference, it's just having a visual representation of proportions. Like just looking at a picture, you will be able to see kind of how far away the shoulders are from someone's head and how long arms are compared to a body. That kind of stuff. Like even if you're not drawing exactly what that picture is, it will just visually help you see what is correct. Do you listen to music while you're drawing or painting? If so, what kind of genre or musician? Yeah, I pretty much always am listening to music when I'm working. Sometimes I will kind of forget to put something on and then realize later it's been silence. But normally I am listening to music. Normally it's kind of my current playlist. Generally I like chilled out electronic-y stuff. For musician lately, I've been enjoying Ruel stuff. I always love Lady Gaga, Florence and the Machine, like kind of alternative-y, electronic-y, chilled out stuff is normally what I'm listening to. Although lately, if I've been doing more like monotonous type work, definitely not so much something that involves a lot of concentration. Like for instance, when I did my owl, I ended up listening to an audiobook. This is not a sponsored ship into Audible or anything. It's just something I did, and definitely if it's more monotonous work that I'm doing for like hours and hours and hours and kind of like run out of music to listen to, or I've already listened to the same playlist or whatever like 5 times that day, because that's how long it's taking me to do something, then audiobooks have also been a thing. I also really enjoy listening to soundtracks. So Breath of the Wild, the soundtrack, I have the like 5-disc or 4-disc thing. It's like 6 hours long, and that's amazing. So soundtracks are also a big thing because it's like really easy to have on in the background and it's not like jarring or distracting. And that's actually going to be it for the questions. I have 2 more Q&A videos, I think, on my channel. However many Q&As, I will have the other Q&As that are on my channel listed below. If I missed one of your questions, it's probably because I've already answered it there, and I probably did a much better job then. But yes, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.